We are visiting with Belmont alum and a past assistant tennis coach and a Nashville tennis legend, Brian Baker. What's going on this morning?
Not too much. Happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah, tell us what you've been up to during the lockdown, during the quarantine here.
It's actually been interesting. I now live in Orlando. I work for the USTA as a men's national coach down there in the pro space. So work with guys basically between like 100 and 250 in the world. But I was in Nashville like at the beginning of March or first week of March. I was getting some treatment. I see a therapist for my back here, and then all the craziness went down. And my parents are actually in the Panhandle of Florida. They have a place, and so I've been staying at the house I grew up in their house. My wife and I have been, and have been in Nashville the whole time. So it's actually been, not fun because of all what's going on, but it's been nice to at least be in Nashville.
If you put yourself in the shoes of people who are on the tour now and, would have been playing, in the Grand Slams at this time of year, how much of a disruption to your season is that? And you have to kind of just go into a whole different way of thinking about the year.
Yeah, it's hard right now. I don't think anybody knows when it's going to come back. What it's going to look like if it comes back. I mean, I know all the other professional sports are going through the same stuff. You're going through a ton of scenario planning and things that you never would have imagined you would have been thinking about doing, you're thinking about now. But I think as a player, it's tough because even when this is the longest break you're hopefully ever going to have in your whole career. And, it's tough motivational wise to try to gear up, and you can't train like a preseason for 6 straight months. So how do you balance it out? And I think guys are just kind of struggling a little bit with that, but it's also a good time to maybe pass up a few guys as well.
Sure. Let's kind of go back in your career a little bit. What did you know as a kid that you'd be able to compete, at a pretty high level? When did you start to get that sense?
I mean, I was always at the top of my age groups growing up, but and you always dream as a kid of being a pro player and playing, finals of slams and winning Grand Slams. But I would say by the time I was, maybe 15, 16, when I was starting to just play some lower level professional events and not having unreal success, but, competing at that level and then doing well at the junior level at the highest. So I feel like 15, 16, 17, like right in there is when I knew that it was a reality and that I could do it.
You were number 2 in the world in juniors. Was it fun to look back and think about some of the players you played with or against at that point and think about what some of those people became as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was painful for some years, I guess a little bit when I was out for all that time. But yeah, I mean, my year, I'm a 1985 birthday, and that year alone, guys like Stan Wawrinka, Thomas Burditch, Joe Wilfred Tsonga, Marcos Bagdatis. I mean, there's a lot of guys that some of them are still playing, some have recently retired, but played against all those guys, beat a lot of those guys, played against them late in the junior Grand Slams. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting to think about, the junior career and how many of us during that little time frame, went on and did good things.
What was most special about that 2012 season? You had success at the French. You went to Wimbledon, got to the round of 16. I can remember, being up early in the morning and watching your matches. I mean, it was such a cool thing to follow you then. What do you think, when think back about that time period, what stands out for you?
Yeah, that's probably, the most favorable time I think of when I think about my career is just that summer of 2012. And it started, really at the Savannah Challenger in the U.S. I had to win that tournament to get a wild card in the French Open, and that even allowed me to play that Nice ATP tournament. Otherwise, I would have been playing the qualies of the French and couldn't have played. So it was just honestly like a little bit of a dream run. I was playing well. I was playing free. I was at peace with my game. Probably the best part of it was that my family was able to see a lot of it. My wife, or then girlfriend, now wife, was able to get there for the end of Nice. My parents for French and Wimbledon. It was just, one of those things where I felt like, I'd making up for a lot of lost time. And it's pretty crazy. I think I went from 300 to about 70 in the world in an 8-week stretch.
Wow.
So it was pretty nuts.
Is it almost an out-of-body experience playing on those stages, playing on that clay or playing on the grass, these places you've seen on TV so many times?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I was able to play at those venues as a junior in the junior slams. So I had been at least a couple times to each place. So it wasn't a first, just, had never been there, learn all the ropes, but it had been such a long time. I guess the last time I would have played there was several years prior.
Yeah.
Coming back, and I also never got to play on stadium court like I did in 2012 at the French second round. And I think, the Grand Slams are the pinnacle of our sport. And, all of them are very special in their unique ways. I think each city is very special in its unique way. And just being able to, do it in front of a ton of fans, family, I think it's cool to be able to play on clay and then go straight to the grass, different surfaces. It's, like I said, it's the pinnacle of our sport. Those are the tournaments you try to peak for and try to play your best.
How much scouting goes into playing those things for you? Especially in when you're playing one-on-one against somebody and you got to know their tendencies or what they might do in a certain situation. Now, what was that preparation like for you?
I think tennis is catching up to the other sports analytics-wise. Even in 2012, there was analytics. But for me personally, I think it was more of the, find someone that has the black book on them, or you try to go to YouTube and see what you can find. Whereas now there's a lot more databases that we have access to, especially each federation has their analytics expert. So, what I do with our guys now, it's completely different than what I was doing back in 2012. But I would just try to watch what I could find video-wise, and then you ask around of, who's played them, and hopefully, you trust their opinion, and then a lot of it's problem solving out on the court. But you did scout. It just wasn't like it is now.
How are you able to stay going in a positive direction through all the injuries and everything you experienced?
Wasn't easy. I think, there were times where it was tough to watch tennis, especially pretty soon after it happened. I think the hardest thing was, each time I would have an injury, I would rehab really hard and try to get back as quick as I could. And then it would be another body part that would break down. So, you spend all that mental and physical effort getting ready, and then boom, another haymaker on you. And I think it was honestly a really good thing for me to, go to Belmont in the fall of 2008 and kind of get away from it a little bit. Not completely, get rid of thinking I could ever come back and play again, but it wasn't this daily grind of all I'm trying to do is get back and play. It was more, I'm trying, but now I'm a student and a coach and kind of living a more normal life. And if it happens, great. And I think, it was a little bit of a blessing to be able to do that.
What did you find out about yourself as a coach during that time at Belmont?
Man, probably that I need to, work on communication skills and stuff. I think, you see things in your head, but then being able to transfer that to somebody else that might not see it the same way. That's when, maybe overcoached a little bit too much, maybe not simple enough, but I definitely think it helped a lot just with Belmont, how international the tennis team was, just learning how to deal with different personalities, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, all that. And just, that's what coaching tennis is. It's learning how to communicate with different people, what makes people tick, how to motivate them, all those things. And, that definitely gave me a leg up now with what I'm doing.
Yeah, cool and exciting to see what's ahead for this Belmont program, especially with the new facility they're building.
Yeah, no, I remember when Mauricio was showing me the plans for it, and thought that was, it looks unbelievable. And I think that'll be a big help. I think, facilities in every sport are kind of, it definitely helps with recruiting. And, Mauricio's done a great job of recruiting well as it is. And, the team's gotten better, I think, every year the last several years. And, I hope one of these years they'll break through and win the conference. Because I know they've been knocking on the door really close. But yeah, it's been great to see.
Could you have envisioned, an event like the Davis Cup, being at the Curb Center? I mean, how neat was that to be a part of?
Honestly, no. I think when I heard about it, I was, like everybody else in Nashville that likes tennis, was super excited. And I think it helped that, the director of kind of events and stuff like that at the USTA, J. Wayne Richmond, was a Belmont alum. And so I think that played a huge part. And, they did a great job. I think the court being able to, it was like the perfect size, a little bit more intimate atmosphere with the fans pretty much on top of the court. And, I've talked to all the players. They really enjoyed their time in Nashville. And then obviously myself being able to have a role and commentate for the Tennis Channel, and also the first part of the week be one of the coaches for the team. It's really a cool experience. I had been a hitting partner once before, way back when I was 18 years old in Zagreb, Croatia. So it was Davis Cup, just like any other team competition where you're representing the USA. It's pretty special.
Have you ever gotten out on the court with Coach Bird and mixed it up with him?
One time I did. He'll think this is funny. So I think I forget if he was doing a speaking engagement or something else, but it was in the middle of the summer. It was like 105 degrees. And I think we got out there like at Hillsborough High School, like courts or something. And I remember kind of like running him around, and he's in unreal shape. And he's really into tennis, but I think I got him pretty tired pretty quickly doing that.
Yeah, I like to tease him that he's the patriarch of Belmont tennis. I think that's what I used to call him, especially when the Davis Cup stuff was going on, because he had a pretty big part in that getting here, didn't he?
No, he did. I mean, he's been fantastic, kind of behind the scenes for the tennis and really a lot of sports at Belmont. And we became friends pretty early. And I remember doing some of the golf stuff that he does before the season starts. And his wife Cheryl's huge into tennis, and got to see her sometimes. Like we were both rehabbing some injuries at the same place. So, great people, and he's super supportive of the tennis program, and has definitely helped behind the scenes for sure. Couple
more things from your career. What was special about going to Rio for the Olympics?
Honestly, the tennis aspect of it in general, wasn't, I guess, quite as big of a deal as maybe I thought it would have been going in, just because, we're playing against the same people every week anyway. We're in the middle of our season. It's the same trainers. Like, we couldn't really have any coaches or family come along. It was pretty restricted on what was act. But as far as the entire Olympic atmosphere as a whole, probably the best thing I've ever done in my life. Just walking through the tunnel for opening ceremonies, that was probably the highlight. And then being able to watch other sports, like seeing Phelps win a couple golds, sitting next to the golfers and the basketball team. It's kind of like this camaraderie that you wouldn't expect during these events, and you don't even know them that well, but everybody's just kind of super excited to be there representing the U.S. and it's a dream experience.
Brian, been a pleasure. You have a standing invite anytime you want to be a basketball commentator and come join us on our Bruins Sports Network broadcast too.
All right, no, I appreciate that, and it's great talking to you guys.
All right, have a good day.
All right, you too.
That's Brian Baker. He is a Nashville tennis legend, Belmont alum, and of course was assistant coach at Belmont.